What's up, y'all? This is Iskosi Umfundisi back at it again. First of all, I give credit to my ancestors for waking me up and making this thing possible. And also like to give credit to you for watching, This right here is from recruiters. And it's going to be in the video City Scramble, the new Scramble for Africa. And many people, especially Americans, Africans of American descent in the United States, do not know about this. So I'm going to have to break it on open. This happened in October 17, 2018. How Russia moved into Central Africa. Because the Russians got a big power play going on in Central Africa right now, and it's not really being discussed. Dakar. When Central African Republic pleaded for help last year to fight a marauding militia, former colonial ruler France offered guns it had seized from Somalia, but Russia objected and donated its own weapons instead. By early February, Russia has sent 9 planes with weapons along with a dozen of contractors to train local soldiers and secure mining projects. Right? As the start of this highest prolific military foray in sub-Saharan Africa for decades. Muscling in on a country dominated by France for years served as a statement of intent about Moscow's renewal push for global prestige and influence, and as part of a wider campaign shaking up a long-standing power dynamic on the continent. Since Western nations sanctioned Russia for annexing Crimea in 2014, Moscow has signed 19 military cooperation deals in sub-Saharan Africa, including with Ethiopia, Nigeria, and Zimbabwe, according to its foreign and defense ministries and state media. The continent's 54 member states at the UN, 3 of which on the Security Council at any given time, form the organization's largest voting bloc and one of its most coherent, making them attractive allies for Russia. The West is very not much loved in many countries, and many see Russia as a country that would oppose the West, says Dmitry Donovato, anthropologist and historian of the Russian Institute for African Studies. Sidebar, they be having some good stuff there too. Russian Institute for African Studies is pretty much on point. Y'all should look into that. Back once again. Besides sending arms and contract to Dakar, Russian national Valery Vakas is a security advisor to President Faustin Arans-Touadera, and Russia's defense ministry said last week it planned to establish a 5-person team in the Dakar defense ministry. Russia moves come at a time when the defense ministry influence over the Kremlin foreign policy is growing against a backdrop of heightened tension with the West. Seize weapons. When Carr made his plea in 2017, there was a recognition that despite an ethnic fighting could turn to a far larger conflict that its security forces were too weak to tackle a myriad of armed groups. Carr has been under UN arms embargo since 2013, so weapons shipments must be approved by the UN Security Council's Carr Sanction Committee. I got a committee for that. Made up of the Council's 15 members, including France and Russia. It operates by consensus. France offered to help Carr by buying old weapons, but the proposal was too expensive. France then offered 1,400 AK-47 assault rifles it seized off of Somalia in 2016, according to the Security Council memo, and 4 diplomats. Russia objected on the grounds that the weapons seized for breaching the UN arms embargo on Somalia could not be recycled for use in another country under embargo, 2 diplomats said. But mindful of the quick need of a solution, the Sanction Committee approved Moscow donation of AK-47s, sniper rifles, machine guns, and grenade launchers in December, according to committee documents and diplomats. We present our problem, and Russia offered to help us, so subject to security approval. Albert Yevgeny Moprin, Carr's presidential spokesman. If peace is restored tomorrow in Carr, I think everybody will be happy. Russian Foreign Ministry did not respond to the request for comments about the committee proceedings. France's foreign ministry said Russia must strictly respect the terms of its arms embargo exemption to keep the weapons out of the wrong hands. We are not interested. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union forged close military and diplomatic ties with many African countries. It was involved in proxy wars in the states such as Angola, Ethiopia, and Mozambique, and helped independence movements fight Western colonial powers. Now Russia is trying to revive some of the relationship that lapsed after the Soviet Union's collapse. It joins a number of countries such as Turkey's and the United Arab Emirates looking to set up bases in Africa, mediate in diplomatic standoffs, and strike business deals. China has a long and major economic presence in Africa, but it has shied away from military involvement. It did go a step further last year, however, opening its first military base outside of China in Djibouti. Near the world's business shipping lanes, Djibouti is the home of a large French base and the only U.S. base in Africa, an Italian camp, and Japan's only overseas base. Wow. Djibouti blocked Russians' attempts to set up a base, however, saying they want to avoid becoming a terrain for a proxy war. Moscow is now planning to build a logistics center at the port neighboring Chirria. While France has military bases outside of Djibouti in the former colonies of Gabon, Ivory Coast, and Senegal, and its soldiers operate in Chad, Mali, and Niger, analysts say Washington influence is on the wane. Its trade with the continent has halved in the past decades, though much of it is due to the U.S. shale replacing oil imports from Africa. Diplomatic post has gone unfilled, and a task force based in Cairo tracking the warlord Joseph Kony left last year. Our actions on the diplomatic and military side has sent a huge signal to our partners that we are not interested in Africa, says Donald Bullock, who commanded U.S. Special Forces across the continent last year. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Tibor Nagy, said Washington's commitment to Africa is unwavering, but there is space for other 10 countries to play a positive role in the region. African deals. As part of Russia's renewal push, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov went on a five-nation tour of Africa in March. He attended a summit in South Africa in June and visited Rwanda, chair of the African Union this year. Russia also struck a military cooperation deal with many African countries since 2015, though some have yet to come into force. The agreements typically involve providing weapons and training in areas such as counterterrorism and piracy. The analysts cautioned that the deals Russia has struck military cooperation with deals with many African countries since 2015, although yes, some of the deals have come into force. Agreements typically involve providing weapons and training in areas such as counterterrorism and piracy. Analysis caution that the deals often appear to be more symbolic than transformative and say it's not clear if Russia has the resources or desire to continue expanding presence. But as in the Cold War, military deals could come alongside economic links such as mining and energy agreement. Ethiopia signed its deal in April, a month after Lavrov visited to discuss nuclear energy, agriculture, and transportation projects. Russian firms have signed mineral deals in Sudan, which cooperates with Moscow on defense technology. And Russia is looking at the diamond and platinum projects in Zimbabwe, as well as energy projects in Chad. Over the past decade, Russian trade with sub-Saharan Africa has increased fast, albeit from a low base. From 2010 to 2017, trade rose from $4.2 billion last year to $1.6 billion, according to the Center of Strategic and International Studies. During the same period, China trade with sub-Saharan Africa has nearly doubled from $165 billion, while U.S. trade has more than halved to $37 billion. Wagner Group. Since arriving in Cairo, the Russians have remitted and expanded beyond military advice and into various economic and diplomatic activities, a Western diplomat and a security source said, fueling the beginnings of a Western backlash. In August, France, the United Kingdom, and the United States blocked a Russian request to send more weapons. The U.S. mission to the United Nations said in a note to the Sanction Committee that it was awaiting confirmation that the measures had been taken to ensure management of the previous donations. The estimations of the number of Russians in Cairo vary widely from 250 to 1,000. Tundra spokesman declined to provide details, nor say the activities that Russia was engaged in. Yevgeny Yakovin, head of the chapter of paramilitary Cossack organization, who has ties to Russian security contractors, said there could be 1,000 in Cairo and 5,000 to 10,000 across Africa, including the Sudan, South Sudan, and Libya. One Russian private military contractor, the Wagner Group, was thrust into the spotlight in July when 3 Russian journalists were killed in Cairo while investigating its alleged presence there. Rutgers have been unable to confirm whether Wagner contractors are in Cairo. People with ties to the group had told Rutgers they had carried out clandestine combat missions on the Kremlin behalf in the Ukraine and Syria. Russian authorities deny Wagner contractors carried out their orders. They have denied any role in a journalist's death. Russia has also stepped into negotiations with militias in Cairo, according to Western misgivings about its presence. According to the UN panel of experts, Todor's Russian advisor have met military leaders several times to discuss the disarmament and the distribution of natural resource revenue. Russia said in August, before brokering talks between armed groups, that Todor has expressed gratitude in its involvement and that it continue in this mediation. In mediation. Records were unable to contact advisor Kara for comment. There is a real division between the guy and the rest of the political advisors, the security service says. When you ask, can we see your colleague, they say, who? Our colleague? We don't even know him. So there you have it. That's what's going on in the new scramble for Africa. The Russians is making a play. Also, the French and all them is kind of aggy. The United States, according to them, is kind of declining back. And the Chinese is making a play. Now, one thing about the story that really stood out to me that we need to get it focused on, you know what I'm saying, as a people over here of African descent in the United States, is that, they got a large minority, they got a large voting bloc. Many people don't know that. And it stated that. And this is why I've been back in the 1960s. Malcolm X was telling us about this too, about the large voting bloc that we had in the UN. You know what I'm saying? That all that stuff come together, we can stop a lot of stuff and control a lot of things. Here it is right here. The continent, 54 member states at the UN, 3 of which sit on the Security Council at any given time. So there's 3 African nations at the Security Council at any given time, forming the organization's largest voting bloc and one of its most coherent, and making it the most attractive allies for the Russians. So we over here need to tap into that voting bloc at the UN. In order to do that, here's a solution. There's another solution for the black community, for the community over here. Write them people. Write the diplomats. They're at the UN and stuff like that. You can write them. You can find their stuff on the internet and stuff like that. Write them, hey, this is what we need. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? That should be a mass thing on the black community in the Western Hemisphere to put pressure on these bastards. Listen, I ain't saying it's going to get us victory, but there's a way to put pressure, and pressure busts pipes. Anyway, this is Iskosi Umfundisi. Much love. Hope you enjoyed the video. Scramble for Africa. Peace.